And then there was just nothing. Radio silence for hours. And I honestly got a little bit worried. Welcome back, guys. All right, this was a lot of fun. Actually, the last video I posted about Jim Walmsley going for that Hardrock FKT, he actually has a name for it. I saw on his Garmin device, he's calling it the Wild and Tough FKT. So if you haven't seen this or don't know what I'm talking about, watch my other video first. It'll give you a little background. But Jim Walmsley of Western States 100 fame, of what else of fame is he? Coconino Cowboy fame, world record at 50 miles, you name it, he's done it. He's looking to do it. And yeah, he's yet to get into the Hardrock 100, but decided to run the route anyways. He was camping up in the area since around June 1st. He did this really low key. There was literally nothing on social media except for Jason Schlarbe's Instagram post in advance. Otherwise, you wouldn't have known about it. I first saw the tracking link from David Roche. He somehow found it and posted it. So he did have a Garmin InReach device with him, which, spoiler alert, Garmin's servers have been down, and that's what we kind of thought happened to him. Around mile 70, there was something weird going on. So anyways, a lot of people have been tweeting back at me since I was sharing a lot along the way of different splits of what Kilian's times were, since he's the record holder in this direction. So I wanted to get into it with this video, tell you guys a little bit about what's going on, break it down. I calculated some splits, wanted to share that information so we could all see how Jim's run went and how did it end, because a lot of people don't still know. He still hasn't posted, and his run hasn't even uploaded because I believe he does use a Garmin watch. So his is not syncing. Fortunately, we do have this satellite data. So let's take a look here. If I'm on his Garmin share page for his satellite tracker, he himself says he's running the Hardrock 100 in the clockwise direction, starting at 6 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, Wednesday, July 22nd. His crew will be at KT, Telluride, Ouray, Grouse, and Cunningham. So those are pretty standard for the most part. Kind of surprised he didn't have crew at Sherman, as that is a big stretch to go from Grouse up and over Handies all the way through Pole Creek to Cunningham. It is approximately 30 miles with no aid. So he kicked it off at 6 a.m. just like he said, according to his tracker. And I'm comparing his times to Kilian. This is Kilian from 2014. And a little background, which a lot of people pointed out, is that when Kilian was running this race, I think this is the year when he was like a little puppy. He was looking back over his shoulder because he was way out ahead, way out up front, running with no one. And he's kind of like, hey guys, I'm a little lonely up here. Will you come run with me? And I think he might have waited for someone for a bit before he finished it off. So by all means, I do not think that Kilian did not time trial this thing. He did not run what he's capable of if there was more competition. Let's say Jim was in the race, or Tim Tollefson, or Jason Schlarbe, some of these other guys, Francois, I don't know. Some people that could really, really push him to what's possible. And I want to talk about my own experience a little bit later on what I think is possible at Hardrock, what I think I'm capable of at Hardrock, etc. So let's get into this. I've got these split times, probably put them up on the screen as well. So the race starts at 6 a.m. He decided to go the faster direction. Kilian holds the record in both directions, yes. One of them was tied with Jason Schlarbe, but it's a little bit slower. So the record stands at 22:41:33, and I was contemplating saying it might be sub 20 might be possible. So Jim came out firing. His split into mile 11, the Com Traverse, was, as far as I can tell, a 2:03. Kilian ran 2:17, so he already shaved more than a minute per mile off of Kilian's time in the first 11, and he went on to continue that. He got to, this is an estimate, his tracker was sometimes spitting out a lot of points, sometimes it was few and far between, so did the best I could, but I estimate he got into Chapman and through there around 9:20 a.m. It might have been actually a little bit sooner than that. So in about 1:17, Kilian's split time was 1:28, so he added a bunch more to his gap. He would have been a full 25 minutes ahead of Kilian at that point. and then into Telluride, which is the first major aid station for Hardrock. He split. This is from a report from his crew. He got there in about 5 hours, so that would be 11 a.m. and Killian got there 11:43. So we're talking. He went out hard. He went out attacking this thing, and he put in a major gap. Imagine if he was racing in the race. I mean, Killian might have run faster to keep up with him, but pretty impressive split right there. That is a lot of climbing to get to Telluride. Impressive, no doubt. Then on up to Kroger's Canteen and Virginia's Pass. So Jim was up there at 12:19 p.m., Killian 1:12. So getting close to an hour under Killian's best time. And then to Governor, my best estimate is 12:39 p.m., which is more than an hour ahead of Killian at this point. Now, there wasn't much satellite data in between there and Ouray and even out of Ouray, so I had to estimate again there. And it looks like he ran about the same time as Killian would have. That's just my guess. So they're probably both just cranking down Camp Bird Road. It is all downhill, all wide dirt road, and it's really easy to go fast there. Next up is Grouse. So they got the biggest climb on the course, 5,000 feet out of Ouray, up Engineer Pass, and then another fast downhill run. And this is why I think people say that this direction is a little faster, is you've got these major road sections that are all downhill, so you can just kind of click your brain off a little bit and smash these downs. Whereas the other direction, you're kind of hiking up these dirt roads and you're running down on more technical single track. Anywho, he got into Grouse, and it looks like from a couple photos I saw from Howie Stern that not only did he have pacers through this section, I saw Tim Frerichs suited up. I think Cody Reed was out there, but it was raining, so they had their rain gear on. They had some poles with them, and he got into Grouse at 4:50 p.m., where Killian was 6:13, and I think that was maybe one of the moments when Killian was just kind of like sitting there like, hey guys, anyone want to play? Anyone want to come hang out? Looking for a friend. But anyways, next up, he went up and over Handy's Peak, and it looks like his split time there was very, very close to Killian. So he still put time on Killian in all these other sections. He was gaining time, and this is where he was starting to match. And from there, you get into Burroughs Park. So that would be 8:46 p.m. for Killian, 7:24 for Jim. And that was a 1 hour and 20-something minute gap. Next up to Sherman. This is mile 71.7. Pretty far into the race at this point, and he would be just probably starting to get into the nighttime section here. The interesting thing about this direction of the course as well is the back third, I guess, is not super loaded with climbs. You get up high, but you just maintain, and you got a couple rollers and one big climb at mile 91. So I was thinking he was going to be able to just keep rolling with this gap that he had on Killian's Ghost, but that was not the case. So we noticed first something was up. His GPS track was going a little haywire. It showed him making his way up the climb out of Sherman, and then all of a sudden there was a dot that was like over here and then back over here, and 25 minutes had passed, then another one, and then there was just nothing. Radio silence for hours. And I honestly got a little bit worried. We also started to hear about this Garmin down thing, so their servers were attacked apparently, so no one could upload their runs from their watches, and we thought, well, maybe this is affecting the satellite data as well, actually getting posted to their website. So I'm not sure if that is the case, but ultimately we found out later that he dropped at Sherman. Potentially some stomach issues is what the rumors have been saying online. So ultimately we just don't know. I did see a photo of Jim posted by someone that saw him spotted in Silverton. He was looking all right, looking healthy. So we don't think that anything permanent happened or anything like that. It seems like he was able to pull the plug at Sherman, get picked up. Who knows what he went through? Who knows if we're going to hear anything about this? Maybe at some point. I'm sure he's disappointed that he didn't make this happen. And, I don't know. I don't blame him for going for it. If you look at his Western States, he had multiple failed attempts. So I think If anything, it probably just makes him more hungry for this thing, and hopefully he can do it in the real race. I think it kind of would have been a shame or a little disappointing to me as a hard rocker if he would have set the record outside the race. I think it's great to do it in the event itself. I'm not going to knock him for trying it, especially with how hard it is to get into Hardrock. And it's definitely more challenging doing it on your own. You don't have that extra support. You get these long stretches where you got to filter your water, carry more supplies. You don't have the same kind of support that you would in the race. Kilian, of course, would go on to finish at 4:41 in the morning. So I don't know if Jim would have held it together and not had these issues. Could he have shaved an hour and a half, 2 hours? I think he could have on this day. But I don't know about that sub 20. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about what I think is possible at Hardrock. I've said before in my other video that I think a sub 20 hour is possible, and kind of what I'm basing that off of is not only Kilian's casualness of his record runs where he's just kind of running with others and enjoying the day. He's taking selfies, taking photos. Didn't really race it. And a caliber of athlete such as himself, if he really pushed this thing, I think he could knock several hours off of his time. I myself in 2013, probably the best shape of my life leading into this event. I was fully acclimated. I was up there for 5 weeks and ran some really fast splits in training on course, including a 13-hour from the start to Ouray. That's the 57-mile direction. And then pieced together during the race itself, had a bit of an implosion at mile 40, ended up down on a cot for 4 hours, turned it around, got back out there, ran the fastest split ever from there to the finish. I think about tying Kilian, and actually quite a bit faster from Ouray to the finish. So for me, if everything would have gone to plan on that day and I would have fully been able to utilize the training I had, I think I could have gone definitely sub 25 hours and maybe even flirting with sub 24. So I think these guys are a caliber ahead of me on a few levels. So I wouldn't be surprised if a guy like Jim, who's acclimated and everything and trained up, properly tapered and all, couldn't run a sub 20 someday. So you're hearing it from me first, folks. Watch this video in, 5 years when we got all these guys, all these elites running the Hardrock 100. I think we're going to see a sub 20 hour. Most likely it's going to come from Jim, but who knows? It could come from someone else. Xavier, maybe Kilian will come back. Who knows? Get reignited. But yeah, I'm calling it now. I think we'll see a sub 20 Hardrock someday, and hopefully we'll see a sub 24 hour from yours truly if I get back in this race. Anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed this kind of new format for content. Let me know what you think. What other topics do you guys want me to talk about? I'd love to do a deep dive on some things going on. And if nothing else, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let me know how you're doing. You can support the channel by visiting our store, runsteep.com, buy a piece of merchandise, and also join our Patreon at Steep Life Media. Anyways, see you guys in the next video. Take care.